we want to arm you with a little bit more knowledge about how camera systems work within the 3D environments and 2D environments. And Nik is a real expert here, so we're going to tap into Nik's expertise here, and we're going to go ahead and try to teach you a few things. So let's go ahead, let's jump into this. So first we have the golden ratio of a perfect game. This is the perfect combination of camera position, character size, and speed. And Nik, do you want to just talk a little bit about the golden ratio?
Yeah. So the golden ratio term we're using here is just like, it's the perfect ratio of certain things. And in mathematics is just roughly like 1.618. So the golden ratio is really beautiful number because it's used like in nature. I mean, maybe nature will like that number, but it's like, you can see that everywhere. Like the leaves are growing in specific ratio. The human bodies, they have a specific ratio, like of heads to arms to forehead to a lot, like everything. And then it's used by like photographers to make your composition looks natural to human eye and more comfortable and like pleasant. So we're using this term in the game development to represent that you are not only dealing with the composition of placing objects on the screen, you're dealing with time, you're dealing with this speed, with like, this is way more complex, but keeping in mind that everything should be in specific order, should be well balanced in a golden ratio means. And if you achieve all that, if you balance and like everything, then you have a really good and comfortable game on your hands. So, and that's why we want to talk about the camera, because camera is really important, and the size of your character and the composition is really important for your game. And many times it's just neglected because it wasn't that obvious that camera is important, and wasn't that, cool as dealing with some fancy graphics or shaders. So yeah, let's talk about camera a little bit more.
All right, so let's get into the real meat of this video here. This is, we're going to go into 2D and 3D here. We're going to start off with 2D. So let's take a look at platformers. So this is 2D panorama. So we've got Super Mario here as our first example. Now this is a situation where the character size is actually a little bit larger in relation to the size of the screen, the dimensions and the resolution of the actual gameplay that's viewable to the player. And so we have these little ratios here set up here on this image. I think Don was the one who made this graphic, and I think that's one Mario. Right there. That is 1 M means one Mario, and 7.8 M means 7.8 Marios, which means one Mario had a bad day. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about character sizing, the speed of the gameplay, obstacles, and camera scrolling speed. So Nik, I'll let you go ahead and kind of take lead here. Let's talk about character sizing.
So yeah, the character size is very important because and the scroll speed, and because if you have a big character, then you cannot give too much room in front of that character so the player can react on obstacles. So imagine we have characters like two Marios, right? So that means you can place just 5 Marios worth of objects in front of him. This is not enough to react on like some danger or some like a coin to pick up, because it's gonna happen so fast and the player will not have time to react properly. I mean, you can do that, but like maybe in a challenge way, but that's not will be pleasant. So this is the goal. You have to came up with the golden ratio for your specific game. Like, what is your character size? How much you want to give a heads up in front of the character? How much the scrolling speed is going to be? Is it enough time to react on on the dangerous obstacles, to avoid them, or actually to pick up coin if this is like something that you want to encourage player to do. So, and this is example of old school when the character size is quite big, but the gameplay speed is not that fast. And this is pretty good ratio here. because of this old small, like a slow speed, and you can take your time, you can make a decision, you can wait for enemies to approach you and then jump on top of them. So but as I mentioned earlier, if you do bigger, then it's not much action can be going on. It's like you pretty much zoom in, and then it'll be hard to give something interesting in that space.
Okay, cool. So this was a quick look at sort of a larger size character size in a platformer type game. Let's take a look here at medium-sized characters, and this is an example that I think is probably a favorite of Nik's here. I haven't actually got to play this one before. This is Rayman Origins, and you can see Rayman here is about the size of one Mario, but in relation to the actual size of the gameplay, he's got a lot more room to work with. So Nik, what do you have to say about this game?
So as you can see, we have 16.5 Marios in this wide screen game, and this game is much faster than Mario. It's give you more room to see beyond what's going on, and you can plan to press the jump buttons, or plan to avoid something, or duck. And so this is much faster gameplay, and it's but the problem here, we can see now that characters is getting a little bit smaller, so you need to strike this balance to actually see your character on the screen, so you can actually have a exact shape of your characters, so you can I'm gonna hit that obstacle, I'm gonna hit I'm not gonna hit that obstacle, get the feeling of the volume and shape. So the developers here choose the cartoon, the flat graphics, to actually give that perspective and keep the character reasonably on a medium aspect, so you can actually not being cheated, I don't know that he is have a bigger arms than it's supposed to be, and your arms touch the spikes and you died because of that. No, they give perfect shape, and you have clear okay, this character is gonna make it, or this character is gonna touch this spike and die.
This was a good example of a medium-sized character in relation to the screen resolution, or the screen size, the gameplay size. Let's take a look at a small character size, and this is Super Meat Boy. This was a super popular game. I think probably a lot of us have played this one before. This game in particular did a really good job of making it so you can grab onto walls and jump onto walls and climb and hop, but the character is extremely small in relation to all of this gameplay. There's a huge world here of obstacles and things that this character has to overcome, and it's almost a little bit hard to see. So Nik, what do you have to say about this type of gameplay?
So as you can see, if this character will be one Mario, then we can fit 35.3 Marios by width and about 20 Marios by height. So this is extremely small, and as I mentioned earlier, we need to provide exact shape that's actually will be easy to recognize by player in this really harsh environment. So they have this square, really a exact square character that you can clearly see the boundaries of the collision shape, the boundaries of okay, this character is gonna die if he's gonna touch this a chain, this sauce. So this is extremely brutal game, really a hardcore, and but because of these decisions of the design and shape and the contrast, it's not the pain to play this game. It's actually challenging. It's still comfortable to play, and it's challenging, but it's comfort challenge. That's the balance you have to make. It's give you enough room to plan ahead. It's give you enough contrast, enough shape to actually understand what's going on, and that's why the game is popular, because we have this golden ratio of the all those multiple items that you need to keep in mind when designing a game.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now to a portrait oriented style gameplay, 2D gameplay, where we have a small, very small character in relation to the environment here. And this is a game called The Lion's Den. This is an old Buildbox game that Trey and Nick worked on. I think Sean Connor also worked on this one a little bit too. And there's probably quite a few members of the Buildbox team who the old Buildbox team that worked on this. So I think this game has a lot of history, and there was a really specific design and setup to this, especially because you have to take into account the fact that it's portrait. So Nick, can you lay down some old facts here about the Lion's Den?
So yeah, that was a pretty good and successful game back there. It was when the hyper casual is just started. And as you can see, the character have pretty small, because the whole idea of this game, you have to avoid obstacles that the game is throwing at you, and the obstacles can be like some like a mind blowing, some like tons of those, and you have to like navigate through those rooms. So as you can see, like Mario is quite small in this scale, and we can feel like a lot like. Pretty much, it's compared to Meatball, the Super Meatball, and it's like we have exact shape. We had like the obstacles have also exact, like you can clearly see where there's gonna be impact or not. So there's a contrast, but there's pretty much all the components of Super Meat Boy, but with the simplicity, which is actually why the hyper casual scene took off, because there is no other like a weird stuff that actually in front of you. There's only you and gameplay. There's no fancy graphics that actually makes things hard to read. Like if you go to Rayman Origin, the graphics is beautiful, but there are some challenges to actually see the shape of your level. There is a shape of your enemy. I mean, that's fine because that's the medium speed, and they're trying to provide some entertainment. But this fresh, like a hyper casual back there, fresh, not anymore. They provide this simplicity and clear, so they actually have clarity, like what is going on, what the shape of my character, and then it's kind of challenging. And because all those garbage around that, all those fanciness is omitted, then you can feel accomplished because you can navigate such a complex game and feel rewarded for that stuff.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's move on. Let's talk about parallax background movement in 2D game environments. This is a type of background movement that gives a lot of depth and feel while still maintaining that 2D framing and game environment. Nick, what do you want to say about parallax background? And did you want to show this video as well?
Yeah, you can click on that video, and so we can see that the backgrounds objects are moving a little bit slower, while like a scrolling of the front objects is bigger, and that gives us like a more depth feeling. Like we can see like, oh, okay, this is something big, this is something epic, huge. It gives you this a feeling of the game, where the environment is. And back there it was like technological challenges to bring three-dimensional, but we see like this 2D parallax and 2D panoramic scrolls are still here with us. Like we have so much computation power, but we're still going back to 2D because it's such a easy way to navigate in two-dimensional. There's only up and down, left and right. And but we also want to give the player of the feel of the environment, and thus parallax is actually doing a great job to bring in the depth to like if you want to show something epic, something like, okay, this is something huge airship or huge like flying like like Avatar kind of style environment, but still maintain this simplicity 2D where you can clearly see the edge of platform, like on those images, on this video, clearly see the shape of your character, and providing this like a simplicity, like an online Zen level, but still have these fancy details, like it give you like a nice image and nice entertainment.
So Nik, why don't you go ahead and take it away and talk a little bit about this sort of setup with the camera environment in a 3D world?
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, the biggest reason for small characters, so you can see ahead of you, like in 2D environment a lot, and you can react on obstacles and other like elements of your game level. But with the 3 dimension, you can bring your character very close to the camera. So the player can see all this customization of your character very close and associate himself with this character. But because of the axis, you can see much farther. You can see what's coming to you and react based on the speed. Like you can judge the speed, the size of the object, and then plan the brain actually will plan what to press or what's the signal sent to your hand. But as you can see on the Impossible Road, you can see very far, much farther than you can see in the Super Meat Boy or like a Rayman, and not to say about Mario. So this third dimension definitely gives you more tools in your toolbox, how to operate and how to engage with the player, how to provide some information like, hey, look at this object, it's coming on this line, you have to be moved in left or right. So, but in the same way, you are increasing scroll speed, because now you can see further, right? It still gives you this comfort of avoiding things, so it gives you enough time to process those signals, but give you a sensation of fast speed as well. So that's like a really good mix of fast speed, comfort of playing, and then scrolling and like being associated with the character. So yeah, there's no surprise that we can see a lot of hyper casual games with these kind of third person angle, like all over App Store these days.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's keep moving. Let's take a look at customized skins in the 3D space. So Nik, go ahead.
Yeah, because the character is so close to the camera compared to Super Meat Boy or Mario, because if you customize your character in, I don't know, Super Meat Boy, there is not that much changes you can see. There is not much value for the player to actually have a different look. But when you have this character, like third dimension, and your character is so close, because the car is your character. This is like the Forza Horizon is a good example. You can clearly see what's going on that car. You can see all this reflection. You can appreciate the nice look of the car and still enjoy this, long visibility and the reaction times. And that's why like those third-person games are cameras like so popular these days, because they're combining really nice looking characters versus the nice visibility, and they still can interact with the world and all those stuff.
So let's go ahead. Let's keep moving along here now to an example where we're really close to the character and sort of how that creates a drama and dramatic moments in video gameplay.
Yeah, so this is a very good example when the camera is dynamic. When the character starts running, the camera is getting closer to the to the character, and then is like the camera starts shaking more aggressive, so you can provide the feel of like what's going on. Like the Gears of War series is like well known for these dramatic cameras. Like you see this character starts moving, like it starts running, and the camera starts shaking a little bit more. So this is called physical based camera, when the cameras recreate it's pretend like you are attached the camera to the physical element, and that's provide you this feeling like another way of like consume your environment through the camera movement. Like when it's also like when the character starts aiming, is provide you comfort, like he's like hiding the characters on the side. Okay, so the camera, the character is not obstructing your vision, and then like you have this comfort of aiming, and also gives you a feeling, okay, the character is all ready to shoot, and like all like, you know, intensify the experience.
Okay, let's keep moving. This is another example of where the camera setup really adds to the drama, but this is a different kind of setup. So Nik, why don't you describe the differences here between the last one and this one?
Yeah, so this is a very good example of another use case of camera. When the camera zoom out, as you can see, the characters is so tiny, so the camera is trying to show you that we are in a world of huge colossus, and this little guy is going to fight with those huge colossus. Like, if you don't know about Shadow of a Colossus, it's the game where you fight with the huge monsters in this huge world, and by camera zooming out, you can show this character is just so small, so fragile in this huge world, and the characters yet brave enough to face those challenges, and you are controlling. And as you can see, like, this is like another angle. The camera is still dynamic. Camera is still like give you all the comfort of seeing what's ahead of you. See, like but gives another perspective on this world by being zoomed out. But only this just zoomed out, but provides you so epicness, so you can enjoy the beautiful, like a vast, like this isolations.
So let's go ahead. Let's keep moving. I just want to just keep watching this video. It's so cool.
Yeah, just look at the camera works there. The camera feedback on all action here. Like it moves here. Like okay, now we're close to the character because there's no more horse, because we are moving slower. We don't have to have like a more room for the feedback. Now we are in a combat, so we know we're locked on that enemy. We actually don't need that much more space anymore. The battle is in this area, but we still like given like this epicness to the player to enjoy to the show, and like to give them danger. Like this is a huge beast, and we about to kill it.
Yeah, this is really cool. We could probably talk about this forever. Let's keep moving. So this is dynamic now with camera style. This is the Twilight Princess example. This is I actually just beat this game not that long ago. I'm a little late to the game, but I finally knocked this one out. But so I have a lot to say about this one, but I'm gonna let Nik take lead. And so Nik, what do you have to say about this?
So the camera also can tell you a story, because you see, like, we start the camera is close to the ground, the character's in the focus, like this character is something Russian, something like maybe danger, maybe he's responding to danger. But then we actually zooming out, and we showing, okay, this is like we showing the world. So first we focus on the first section, we first focused on character, then we zoom out, we give them the world, then we back to the character again. And only by just moving camera left and right, zoom in, zoom out, moving left and right, we can actually control the feel of the action, and we can tell and focus shift from character to the world, back to the character, to another character, and just balancing out that, and like making it smooth, and keeping in mind this golden ratio in timing as well. We can tell a story, because that scene, there's no text, there's no maybe music that support, but you can have okay, this is character, this is world, and welcome player to this experience that we want to show to you.
Okay, I'm gonna prevent us from going off on a tangent on this one because I've got a sore spot here with how long it took me to beat this game. So let's just keep moving right along, and let's talk about field of view, and how the field of view is something that you really got to consider when you're designing your camera setup for your games. So Nick, take it away.
Yeah, many times field of view is not appreciated by game designers or anywhere but it's really powerful tool. On this video, is if Zach, you can click on that, you can see that field of view is changed to give your perception of like a speed up process. And it was well used in the racing. Like when you speed up, you actually decrease field of view, so you have a narrower view, but then when you slow down, you have a wider field of view, so you can see bigger. But only by changing field of view, you can have a feeling that you move faster. I mean, these games are moving faster, but you cannot move too much fast, because otherwise you don't have this room for reaction. So the designers in the racing games, they decided, hey, why we just narrow field of view, because you're gonna you can see less of objects on the side, and then your brain will reinterpret that as you move faster. But in fact, the game is not that much faster. Like as you can see, it's like when we speed up, we have slightly narrower, like slightly decreased field of view. And but you can play with the field of view in other aspects as well. But if you are building like a strategy game, make sure your field of view is not as wide as you play in the first-person shooters, because when you do strategy game, your camera is far above, pretty much like you are shooting pictures from satellites, right? And but it's impossible to have wide field of view and still have a too far away, like you're from satellite. So all those little, or if you like doing like a first person shooter, make sure your field of view is something that human eye is used to, not too wide or not too narrow.
Yeah, and you know, something I think that it would be good for us all to kind of experiment with is we do have the field of view camera animation node, I believe, in Buildbox. I think that's something that we should all just kind of tweak and mess around with and stuff. You wouldn't believe how much it does for your gameplay. Like, okay, like for example, like have your character like go down a path or down a corner, right, and have it like once it hits the corner, have it hit an invisible object or something, and that sets off the field of view animation, and have it come out around the corner, and just try to mess with the field of view inside of Buildbox. I think is a good practice. That's a fun node to mess around with. All the camera animation nodes are great. Let's go ahead and let's keep moving. Oops, I just keep pressing on the video. Okay, let's talk about first-person camera style. All right, Nick, what do you have to say about this?
This one is, I have a love and hate relationship with the first person, because first person is really, you have to nail it down. It's really complex, you know, from the engineering standpoint to make it right. It's because it has to replicate all those dynamics movement of humans, like a walking, you know, turning left, turning like running, and because the camera is first person, you are really close to your world, so your world has to be like a really detailed, and there's no surprise that, you know, like I don't know, the Cyberpunk or Doom or like Skyrim using first person camera, because they want player to interact with world more directly, so they want to eliminate this obstruction at the this character, the third person camera have. So like you are like really immersed in this world, you are a part of that world, you pretty much like a VR at this point. But again, it's the cons here is you cannot see your character. So if you dressed up your character, you cannot appreciate that. If you have a fancy car, you cannot appreciate car. I mean, you can appreciate interior, but you know, exterior is not. You can see exterior, and there's a high cost of development here. But if you are really want to go that way, you make sure you make it right, because it's easy to screw up by just not paying attention to all those details, and human brain will recognize those wonky animation movements, and it will looks weird.
Yeah, this is heavy criticism there from Nik Rudenko. If you're gonna do it right, which I have to agree with completely, you know, and he's right. With this type of camera movement, this type of camera setup, this lends itself to, like, you need to nail it. It needs to be perfect, because those details will be noticed, or the lack of details. All right, let's go ahead. Let's keep moving. This is something that Nik and I worked on together. We created a little camera sandbox for you. It's a little BB doc, and I started it. Nik finished it. Nik created some camera styles, and you can go to the different camera styles with these buttons and check out different camera movements. We'll go ahead and share that with you. And Nik, was there anything else you wanted to say about this?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good tool to actually feel what we just talked about. Like, for example, this screenshot in the middle, we have a camera close to the ground, and it feels much faster. But compared to the first screenshot, where the camera is like a little angled, you know, just medium, little above the character, but the movement speed on all of those is the same, but the keywords just feels much faster. So that's provide you with like tools like to play with camera, to see what exactly each camera view do. Like maybe if you're planning to do a game, that's give you inspiration, that give you maybe some idea how to position camera for your game. If you want to experiment, and if you want to, you know, just try different field of views, like how exactly they're gonna change or impact your perceptions of the world. Yeah, this is a really nice little tool that's, you know, give you like reinforcement on all those topics that we just talked earlier.
Cool. Awesome. I hope you all enjoyed this video. We're gonna try to share this with everybody, and we'll make sure you guys all get this BB doc to play around with. And yeah, we hope you thought this video was useful, and that you'll use some of these approaches when you're designing your own games. And templates and stuff like that for the customers. So thank you so much for sticking with us for this video. I know it's probably a little bit of a long one, but Nik and I really appreciate it, and we really hope this is useful. That's it for me. Nik, do you want to go ahead and do your sign off?
Yeah, I hope you guys gonna like it, and let us know if you want content like that in the future. We have one more coming in the works, and it's all about how to be a good host for your players. I mean, you are kind of creating new experiences, and you are like a hotel host. You're trying to accommodate the needs of the player, to be satisfied, to entertain, to be, you know, to tell a story. So all those things, how to be a good host. Like, stay tuned for the next video, but again, let us know if you want more stuff like that, and we will work on that.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Nik. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.